Squash. Step 4 is another step in interrupting the life cycle of the squash vine borer. No eggs. Obviously, they can't burrow into the plant, feed themselves, pupate, and come back the next year. Share a link below to my website, which will detail the life cycle. Oh, what do we have here? Oh, that's a bee. I thought that was a squash vine borer moth for a second. That will detail the life cycle of the squash vine borer and why we try to interrupt it at every stage. It emerges from the soil. It will fly around and lay eggs for a period of 2 to 3 weeks. And we lay out traps to indicate to us that the squash vine borer moth has arrived. Here's my trap. Here's a trap full of the crushed little boogers. There's a pheromone in there that attracts the male, so only attracts the male, not the female. But if there's no males or fewer males, it's us females that have viable eggs to lay on my plants. So highly recommend setting those traps. So now you've got the squash vine borer moth. You found a female. She happened to find a male somehow, one of the few left that weren't left in our traps, and she starts laying her eggs. So for about 2 to 3 weeks, she'll lay her eggs all over your plants. Of course, she has preferred cultivars, the Cucurbita maxima and Cucurbita pepo, summer squash, are her favorites. And she'll lay the eggs, and about 2 weeks later, those eggs will hatch. And the tiny squash vine borer will very effectively and quickly burrow into the stem of the plant if it can. Machada is a little harder. Let me show you Machada winter squash. Machada cultivar. See that? They will lay eggs on your Machada, but it's going to be much harder for the borer to actually bore into the stems because the stems are thicker than the other 2 cultivars we discussed. So, little borer hatches. It's very tiny, you can't see it. And it's going to burrow into your plant. Now you're going to know signs of your plant dying about, it's about 2 to 3 weeks later. It'll go pale, the leaves will go wilty, you'll water it because you think it needs more water, and it doesn't care because the squash vine borer has destroyed the vascular system supplying nutrients and water to the plant, so it doesn't help. So that's why we root on binding types and cover stems as much as we can on bush types. And of course, the next step after that is if you want to save a plant, you'll of course keep laying soil over every node of a vining type to feed any fruit you have, and you'll definitely have fruit by that time. Or you can use BT, inject BT into the stems. You can also cut into the plant itself and take the borer out, and I will show you that as well. But step 4, where we are, is egg management. Then the full-size borer, once it's in the stem, it's destroyed your plant, it will bury itself into your garden and then make a little cocoon and stay there over the winter and come back to torment you the next summer. So the good thing is we have a lot of stages we can do things to help save your squash plants, but not gonna lie, it's definitely work, and there's a lot of stages to work with. Unpleasant discovery. See that yellow stuff? It's frass. And in there is a squash vine borer, because I just saw. Yep, here we have some really severe damage all up and down. This particular, you see how it's lighter? And then it turns orange where you have the frass. That's a telltale sign. So you've got the beautiful green stems. And you start to notice this yellowing. And then the orange. So this stem has it all up and down. So what are we gonna do? I can tell from this is a main stem. So this whole plant will probably die. So what we wanna do is look and see if we've protected it by feeding it lower down, and we have. So technically, we can actually cut off this section and protect what's downstream. North Georgia Candy Roaster, a Maxima. This was one of the favorites of the squash vine borer last year, so I'm not surprised to see it getting hit this year. So let's do this thing. Look at that vascular system. It's definitely dying. Look, it's even got more eggs here. I am not a fan of squash vine borer. Look at that, more eggs right here, even after it's destroyed. Let's see a second. Got frass. Now I'm going to be not gentle cutting this because we're destroying this lower part of the vine. Otherwise, I'd be a little more careful. There we go. Where'd it go? There we go, right here. That is your squash vine borer. That is a dead squash vine borer. Okay. So we know this is actually settled in really good. So we're going to cut it. Right here. Looks like it's tangled. See? That is some damage. And if I wanted to take the time in this 90-degree heat, I bet I could find at least 5 squash vine borers in this one section of vine. The most important part, when you clean this, get that egg vine away from your other babies. So when you're cutting pieces off, get them away because they'll die in the grass. They have to have a stem right there to bore into, the eggs when they hatch. So if there's eggs there and the borers, we're going to take care of the vine so the borers can't bore into the soil and come back next year. So this is what we're left with. So we'll just take some of our dirt. Looks like this is squash vine borer too. Yeah, pretty telltale, probably just got in there. We want to protect everything downstream. And I already did my work 2 weeks ago, getting everything to root. See that? That's a strong root. That is a very strong root. I'm feeling very good about what I've done here. Cover it up. Again, this is a mix of compost, topsoil, and peat. So it's got some nutrients in it, and it's also got some soil that I'll be able to plant in next year. Frass. This looks like a main stem. So this is what we're going to do. Oh, hey spider, get off. Scare shit on me. Okay, that's frass. So I know for a fact we have squash vine borer in here. Okay. You're going to cut into this and see, there's not a lot of frass, which means the bore is small. So we might not even be able to really see them that much. So we're gonna do a few things. Try to save the vine. Might be part of it right there. Right? Get all the frass off. Frass and probably bug parts of the bore. Spray the BT, so he or she is still in there. Excuse me. And then we're going to cover it up because this is on the main stem, so I can't cut this off. But under here is a node, so it will root from here and also continue to root down. So that's how you save a stem. See that? This yellow zucchini is not long for the world. It's yellowing. It's covered in squash vine borer eggs. It's really been a crop. The moth has been attacking to lay her eggs. There's some yellowing of the stem. I've already planted squash behind it that will emerge in just a couple days. So as this one dies, new squash will be coming on. Look at that, right in front of me. Isn't that brazen? I hate you, get out of here. So anyway, so when you see that, succession plant if you have time.